What is up, guys? It is DJ Martini Midwest Reviews coming at you with another video for my channel. Today I have a cool tutorial slash review video on some SD cards, guys. I've seen a lot of hype lately on various SD cards and learned some information myself that most of the SD cards are pretty standard amongst all themselves, and so there's only a few things you need to look out for when you're looking for SD cards. So I'm going to give you that information today. I'm also going to review these SD cards that I have and check out some common day, everyday performance, nothing really scientific, but just some everyday performance from a common consumer like myself, and give you those stats on these SD cards, give you some information that you need to know about SD cards, and then also kind of review these items as well. So I got a lot to bring to you guys today. Hopefully you enjoy it, guys. I have 4 different SD cards for you. I got a Samsung Evo. I have a Gigastone 4K Game Turbo. I have a Scandisk Extreme, a Scandisk Ultra Plus, and then I have a little common knowledge of the Scandisk just Ultra as well. I don't have that card here, but I use them a lot for media and music and pictures, so I'll be able to kind of give you a little information on those as well. So I got a lot of cards, a lot of information that we will be bringing you guys today, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in to DJ Martini Midwest Reviews. Please like, subscribe, and share, guys. I like to do this research for you guys so you guys don't have to. Give you the knowledge back as easy as I know how, and then give you some links in case you guys want to pick up any of these products, guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If this is helpful at all, give me a thumbs up, and let me know how I did, guys. So thank you guys so much. A lot of information to get into, guys. I also have this Smart Q adapter, guys, which can kind of a lifesaver, guys. If you have a computer and you have the 3.0 USB drive, which most computers nowadays do have, you can put your adapter in this with the card, or you can just put the straight micro SD card in this as well, and it's going to boost some of your write speeds. So that's really cool. It's a bonus. It helps make some things faster for you, and this adapter is really inexpensive too, so we're going to go over that as well. Verify one little thing, guys. When I'm talking about media and pictures for one write speed, that's going to be one thing, and then when I'm talking about music, which like MP3 files, that's going to be another thing. So when I'm talking about writing music or writing media, that's going to be 2 separate things when we get into that part of the video. So just to let you know, those speeds are a little bit different. All right, guys, we are back, and I am going to get into a brief discussion about basic things on an SD card that is important for you guys to check out. So first of all, of course, the name of the company is kind of important. You want to know if you have a Samsung, a Gigastone, there's all kinds of brands, Toshiba, Sony, Transcend. There's so many companies that make SD cards, and I just want you guys to know, bottom line, that most of them do very similarly. And it's not until you get into really expensive cards that maybe do 4K or 8K recordings that you're having a lot of storage space on them that you're going to find really big differences. But for the most part, most SD cards and micro SD cards. So this is a micro SD card. This is an SD card. These are adapters for the micro, which makes them an SD card. Basically, you're just looking at form factor right there. Some devices, say like a GoPro, will take a micro SD card, but some computers usually take SD cards. So you're going to want this form factor here. This is a micro factor here, guys. All right. So I'm going to scoot those off the paper here so I can bring this up just a little bit. So, for important things you need to know. Format right here, SDXC is a newer version of an SD card. So that's kind of important because the older version, the HDHC, is an older version. So some older cameras might not accept an SDXC, but they will accept an SDHC. So you want to make sure that your camera, if you have an older camera, that you're using the correct SD cards right here. So max read speeds, guys. So most read and write speeds are pretty similar, and so this read speed is 95 megabits per second, which is pretty much capped on most devices, and you are going to get that for most SD cards. So there's not a lot of difference between the SD cards because that's where they're capped off. So if you're using this for a Nintendo Switch, the max read speed for when you're running programs or writing stuff to them is going to be capped at 95 megabytes per second. So, you know, no matter which one you're going to buy, the speeds are going to be very, very, very similar no matter what card you use. So you're not going to notice much difference between the different cards you use. Another big thing, capacity, guys. So you can have 64 gig, 32 gig, 256, 400, 512, 1 terabyte. Once you get into the 1 terabyte though, guys, that's going to be getting into very, very pricey for micro and SD cards carrying that much space. So, but very inexpensive. You can get all the way up to 512 for around $50. So I think that's pretty reasonable when you get into 512 gigs. So all these other extra things are just talking about bare minimum megabytes per second, what there could be rated up to. Now, most of this is important for video cameras and cameras taking photos, videos, things like that. So your video speed class, very important for cameras. We're going to talk about that in a second. Your speed class is very important right here for cameras. So you want to make sure that you stay up to their specs, and I'll explain that in a second. And then, of course, this is UHS class speed, which once again has to do with video speeds and things like that. So we're going to get into that right now. All right, so here is my Scandisk Extreme micro SD card, and then we're talking about video class, because this is probably the most important thing that you want to know about. But basically, V6, if this says V6, V10, or V30, you're going to be good for 1080p recordings. So that's going to be high definition is 1080p, but you're going to be wanting to have a designation of that to capture those videos properly on your card. Okay, if you're going to be using 4K, you're going to want the V60 or better. If you want 8K, you're going to want V90. So if you want to get all the way up there, you're going to want V60 or V90 to collect the best videos from your 4K cameras, from your 8K cameras, things like that out there in the future. But you're pretty solid to be anywhere in the V10 or V30 for 1080 video. Okay, if you're just taking, you know, standard pictures, you know, you're good with any of these. But like I said, once you get up into the 4K and 8K, these numbers become actually very important. Okay, also these are going to be your bus speeds. Make sure you just go to your instructions on your camera, your video recorders, things like that, and just kind of check the specs to make sure you're getting the best specs up for the speeds that you need. Okay, but that is designated by having this I here. So, and then, you know, the capacity standards, once again, I talked about the SD cards where they used to be just, you know, 120 meg to 2 gigs. Then the HDHC, which, like I said, is an older, only 2 gig to 32. Now they have the SDXC, which is 32 to 2 terabytes, guys. I have not seen a 2 terabyte card, but that is very interesting and cool, and I'm sure they're expensive. And they're even saying that there's going to be an SDUC with crazy 2 terabyte to 128 terabyte. That is amazing. So we'll see what that comes out in the future. All right, and then they have the speed class, and like I said, these are just minimum speed requirements. So you're going to want to go to your cameras and things like that and just check them. But basically it's saying they're just marked according to, you know, 4, 6, 10, and these are kind of similar numbers here. But basically on these, you know, you're up to 10 megabytes. Those are minimum requirements. So they're going to read up to those 10 minimum, you know, class 10 is going to be 10 megabits, 6 and 4. So at bare minimum, they're going to work at those speeds. Okay. Designation of the A2, a lot of people asking me, these were for application processes for your Android tablets and things like that, and phones when people were putting memory cards in those. So if you're, you know, downloading apps, it's going to be able to perform at these speeds. No matter which one you have, they're still going to be at the minimum speed of 10 megabytes per second, but the A2 is going to run 3 to 4 times faster than the A1 when it comes to running applications. So if you're running video, you're running apps from one of these cards, you're going to want a little bit faster, maybe an A2 card for the best performance currently at the moment. Okay. All right, guys, so that's kind of the layman's terms into that. Just to kind of show you the read and write speeds for these cards. Now, this is a Scandisk Extreme Pro, Extreme, Transcend, Samsung. This was on an article, I don't know, it's Tom Speed or something like that. And so I had to print it out just to kind of show you guys that, notice the write speeds on these guys. They're very similar, all of them, okay? Samsung got up there with 60 megabytes of write speed, but all the read speeds are capped at that 95 megabytes per second. So no matter what card you guys are buying, they're capped read speeds, guys. The write speeds might be affected when you're writing stuff to them, but the read speeds are always capped at the 95 megabits per second on most devices. Some will be different. I'm not going to say all, but if you just notice that most of these are pretty similar, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, and these are just like basic numbers. I will show you, talk about some true numbers that I got when I was writing stuff to some of these cards. But that was just an example, guys, but I just wanted to show you that those read speeds are capped, and the write speeds will vary a little bit different, and you can see that they did the research here, but definitely something to keep in mind when you're buying cards out there. Let's get into the review part, guys. So there's a lot of information I need to squeeze in really fast. I want to get this in the next 10 minutes or so, so let's get going. Now, first of all, I'll be giving you some average speeds that I got from an Intel computer. It's an older 2012 and an HDD. I also have a AMD Verizon 5000 series, which comes from an SSD. So SSDs will transfer information a little bit faster than your HDD, and so that could affect some of your speeds. Now, I did take speeds from both computers, and I kind of averaged them out. So you're going to get the average speed that I got from both computers, and then I averaged the speed out. So kind of an average of what you'll get from each of these cards, guys. Now, I have 4 cards, guys. I have an Evo 512 right here. You can see the card right here, Evo 512 from Samsung. I have a Scandisk Extreme. This is a very, very popular card right here, red and gold there. I have a Gigastone, which is very, very popular these days with the Nintendo Switch. This one is a 4K gaming turbo. I think that's a little bit hype, but we will talk about it. And then I have the Scandisk Ultra Plus. Now, I also use the Scandisk Ultra. I do have Ultras as well. Actually, I probably have one in my computer right now. So the Ultras and the Ultra Plus are very, very similar in my opinion. So if you get either of those, I think they're going to be pretty similar. Cards here, which one is going to do the best? All right, one other thing I want to throw in is this Smart Q adapter right here, guys. It does have a micro SD port and an SD slot right here, and it does use USB 3.0. Now, with USB thumb drives, you will get a little extra speed from a thumb drive. So people ask me, why are you using micro SD cards for this if you could just use a thumb drive and get faster speeds? Well, one reason I do it is because these take up space, and when you put them in your computer, you have to take them out for portable, just take your computer and stick it in a bag or things, or you're gonna break this. With an SD card, most of my laptops, there are some out there that now the SD card sticks out a little bit, but for the most part, I can stick it in the computer. It goes all the way in, and then I don't have to worry about taking it out. I can put it in there, forget about it, and I don't have to worry about losing a thumb drive or losing an SD card, things like that. So it's kind of just been one less thing to worry about when it comes to transferring media for me, or when I'm doing gigs and I need some files of music, I can put them in the SD card, slide them in the computer, and forget about them, and not worry till the end of my gig when I'm at home already, and I know that the card's not lost, or I didn't lose a thumb drive either. So kind of the reason why I still use SD cards for media transfer. I do have this adapter. This will improve your speeds, so I'm just going to put that out there right now. This is $10.99. This thing has been really cool, and it's kind of improved some of the speeds. So when I'm transferring data, I will use them. I will use this transferring data, files, and things. I will use this to give me a little extra speed. All right, and that's from Smart Q. I will leave a link, and like I said, they're about $10.99, which is an awesome price for a cool little piece of tech like that. All right, so let's get into the speed, but you will notice faster speeds with media when it comes to pictures and video than when you get just music. So I'm going to keep those separate. So music is one, and media, which I will include pictures and video, or pictures and video, guys. Okay. So let's talk about the Scandisk first, and I only got 2 speeds with this. I got the speed with my adapter, and then there's the normal speed that you'll get. So with just music, guys, I got about 21 megabits per second. It fluctuated a little bit, and we'll talk about the reason for that in a second, but from 24 to 5 megabits per second, so it was very jumping around. Transferring about 4 gigs, it took me about 3 to 4 minutes, which is not crazy when it comes to using a micro SD card, but that's where I was at with the Scandisk Ultra, okay? When I was using the adapter, it boosted me all the way up to 36 and 28, and also read a lot more consistently. So I was right around 30 megabits per second, and it read right there consistently, a lot better than when I was just using the card by itself in the computer. So a little bit to think about there. So let's talk about the 256 gig Scandisk Extreme. It read at music was 21 megabits per second. So it averaged between 16 and 24. So it was very similar to the Ultra when you're talking about the Extreme just using the card. But when I was doing media, it did boost up to 27 megabits per second, and it was a little bit more consistent between 27 and 25. And so it's probably averaging 26. So a little bit more speeds when it comes to reading media with Scandisk Extreme. So when I used the adapter though with this Scandisk Extreme, I boosted that up to 41 with media, all the way up to 41 megabits per second, and it was very consistent between 41 and 39. And with the music, it was 37 and 30, so a little bit more, not consistent, but still was averaging around 35 megabits per second, which did get boosted with the adapter, guys. And that same Disk Extreme will cost you about $35, and the Ultra 128 gig is around $20.99. Especially when you use the adapter, it did boost those speeds up for both of them. Get into the Gigastone, guys. The Gigastone had the 4K game turbo. Now, I think that's a little bit of hype. Once again, when we're talking about recording 4K video, and then also for it to record right, read right, look right, you're going to want to have that V60 notification on there. These have V30, so they say they can do it, but like I said, they probably can do it, but they might not do it the most efficiently. So just to put that out there. But this card is about $4 to $5 more than the Ultra, and for the same amount of space, so 128 gigs. And this is the Gigastone 4K Game Turbo. And like I said, music read between 25 and 10, so I averaged it right around 21 to 22 megabits per second. And then also media read a little faster at 27 and 16, and it read consistently around, average about 23 megabits per second for media. So it was very inconsistent, bouncing around a little bit as well, which was a little bit weird for a brand new card. On a brand new card, the card hasn't been fragmented yet. And when I say that, I mean after you have a card for a while and you're writing stuff to it, you're erasing stuff from it, writing, erasing, that card's gonna get fragmented a little bit. And so it's gonna write inconsistent when you're writing or reading things. And so I say occasionally I will just totally erase a card and reformat it. That way you just erase everything from it, and then you kind of can get a little bit more consistent when you're reading or writing things. I suggest doing that, and when you do that, you're going to have to reformat it and make sure you format these disks to a FAT32 file system, and that's because that's what most of the cameras and things will run. That system is a FAT32, so just some extra information for you. All right, so once again, 21 and 23, just the card. When I use the adapter though, I reached speeds 42 and 28 and 63 and 43 when it came to writing media. So 63 was pretty high, but that was just a boost. But I averaged right around 45. So I did get pretty high, and I did get pretty high on the music too, but I still averaged right around 35. So those still are some of the highest speeds that we had today. But it did write inconsistently, which was weird when I was writing it just normally without the adapter. The next one, for 512 gigs of storage space for a Samsung Evo Select, I think that's probably the best price out there for, and when you see the results from my experiment here, this card read very consistently between 21 and 23, average 22 for music, so 22 megabits per second. Now let's jump to all the cards here. So 22 megabits per second, probably Gigastone was right at 21, 22, probably closer to 21 though, because it was so inconsistently jumping up or down. So just a hair over the Gigastone. The Scandisk ran at 21 megabits per second, and so did the Scandisk Extreme. So you can see how they were all very, very close, but consistently the Samsung ran at 22 megabits per second. 25 megabits per second for media, and let's put that against the Gigastone, which was at 23, so 25 for Samsung. And then for the Scandisk, it was right averaging around 25 as well, so pretty close for the Extreme and the Samsung. But when I used the adapter, this is when this card really stood out. I hit consistently between 64 megabits per second. So it was between 65 and 63, but I was maintaining 63 the whole time, which is fantastic. The highest card to do that and maintain it amongst all of them. And then with the music, I ran 43. So it was between 47 and 41, and I ran 43 consistently with music. So that, amongst all the cards, Samsung Evo Select did reach the best write speeds. Like I said, they're all capped at 95 megabits per second read speeds, so you can't get any better read speeds out of them. But the write speeds will be different amongst all of them. All of them did better with my adapter, guys. So if you use an adapter with these, you will get better write speeds. And winner, guys, is the Samsung 512. I think it's got the best price between price, storage, and performance, guys. So the Samsung Evo Select, in my testing, did the best, guys, keeping consistent speeds and, you know, writing, and the price point for 512, very, very good. Second place, guys, it's pretty close between the Gigastone and the Extreme, but I have to edge it for the Gigastone because it did boost pretty high with the adapter, guys. So Gigastone would come in second place, and then the Samsung Extreme in third place, and the Scandisk Ultra and Ultra Plus would be in that fourth and fifth spot, with pretty consistent speeds between the Ultra and the Ultra Plus. So there's my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, guys. Just to let you know, guys, they all performed better with the SmartQ adapter. So just to let you know, pick up one of these adapters if you're using them with the SD card. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know there was a lot of information, guys, but I tried to give it to you the best I can, the easiest way I know how. If this was helpful at all, guys, I tried to pick all the micro SD cards that are pretty relevant right now due to price, due to performance, due to items out there that they're used with. And basically, I just want to flatten it out and say that all these cards are very, very similar when you're just using the cards, guys. So if you're just putting these cards in a computer, in a device, they're going to read very, very similar. Like I said, they're all capped at 95 read speed. So write speed is going to be a little bit different, but when I was just using the card without using an adapter, they are very, very close. So I think when you're shopping for these cards, look for how much capacity you're going to get, how much storage space you're going to get to the price, okay? And then make sure that you just have the right specifications for your camera. So if you have a camera, or if you need it for a phone and you need to write apps, just make sure you have the right specifications and that you need for yours, and then go based off that capacity and that price point, guys. And then you will be good with whatever card you get, guys. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. If it was, give me a thumbs up. Thank you guys, just trying to help. More videos to come, and we'll talk to you guys later.